All right, here we go. We're going to run with it.
Okay.
Welcome, Crystal Escobar.
Thank you. Yeah, you guys don't mind this right in my face, but I was saying that I want to make sure to get really good audio because this is going to go on the podcast as well.
Yeah. So thanks for joining me.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Whoa. Whoa. This could be a very interesting interview. This might not be as deep as I thought.
Okay, we're going to get serious.
Okay.
Serious interview.
Guys, welcome to the Shredders Unite Biz Call, where we talk about entrepreneurship. We talk about, the business model that we share erShred through. And so really excited to have Crystal on tonight. Crystal's amazing. I think you're amazing. I'm a big fan.
You are.
I'm a big fan of yours. Crystal has a lot of experience. Oh, you want me in this?
Yeah.
Crystal has a lot of experience.
Wait, real quick. Where is this live so I can share it?
Probably on my wall.
Okay.
Yeah. I met Crystal all the way back in 2004. Yeah.
Yep.
2004. And one of the things that you find that there?
Yeah.
Good job.
Okay.
So Crystal, believe it or not, when I met her, Crystal was a waitress at an Italian restaurant. It was called Buca de Pepo. And she was also doing network marketing for a completely different company. And a lot of people don't know that. So maybe we'll go back even further though, Crystal.
Okay.
Tell me what was it like growing up in your household? What were the beliefs around money? What'd you grow up with around that?
Okay. Yeah, to kind of give you a little background or as far as like my upbringing and the things that I learned around I don't know, I guess money and business building and all of that. It was more so I think, well, I guess I would say that we grew up really poor. Like there was a time where we even lived in a tent in Hawaii for 6 months. The intention was to eventually build a house on that property, but we couldn't afford to do it. So we're like, oh, we can live in a tent. And so that was quite the experience. But I moved a lot growing up. I moved over 25 times. We were moving like every 6 months, just, I don't know, lots of different reasons. Mm-hmm. And I think that what I learned from my parents was kind of like living paycheck to paycheck. There was never any like learning about savings or like anything when it came to the future and preparing for the future. And it was just more like the mindset I think that I developed just by watching how my parents worked was just really, I mean, I guess I don't really know how to explain it without seeming like I'm being harsh.
Yeah, no need for any of that.
Yeah, but other than it was, I guess, tough times a lot of the time.
Right, gotcha.
Financially.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, and I know that. I know you didn't grow up with a lot. I know, you had a great upbringing, but, yeah. you were definitely not rich.
Yeah.
I'm talking a little bit more like, talk to me about what you did for work growing up. As I got to know Crystal, it was funny because every time we drive by anything, she'd be like, oh, I did that for a job once. And then, but it's like 100 things. And so after a while, I was like, I just laugh every time she'd say, oh, I did that once. I worked there. I worked in that capacity. And I'd be like, how many jobs did you have? So I didn't have that experience growing up. I was always in sports and I worked in different ways, but, talk to us about all those jobs and what your belief system was about money. And then, what was it that attracted you to network marketing when you were, say, 21, 22 years old? What was that? Mm-hmm. 23?
Yeah, I think it was 23. Mm-hmm. Well, I started working and having to like pay my own bills at like 15. So I got a job as a waitress at like a pancake restaurant, and I was supposed to be 16, but they let me, I guess they just let me work there a little bit before I was 16. So waitressing was like my first job, and it kind of became my go-to job. I would try a lot of different jobs over the course of the next few years. And I tried, like I did anything and everything. I tried a lot of different jobs, but the waitressing was always like the easy, quick money, and it was always the thing that would fall back on to pay my bills. But I I just remember having this, getting to a point where I would think, okay, is this what my life is going to be? I just have to work all day just to pay my bills, because I basically had no extra money after that, and I didn't know how I was ever going to like get ahead. So I pay my bills. I'm like, is this what life is? You just work to live, like to pay for your food and your apartment, your car. And then I guess that's because I had no time to do anything else. I was trying to even fit in some classes at the community college, but I couldn't figure out how to make it all work, to get an education, to pay my bills, and to start pursuing something that I was passionate about, because I knew ultimately I want to be able to make money doing something that I love and I'm passionate about. But I just was like, I don't see how that's ever going to work, especially, watching how my parents, I just kind of learned that you just have to work for your entire life. And you're never really going to get to a point where you get to do the things that you love. So once I was introduced to network marketing, I I saw that as like the perfect vehicle to get me to a place where I would free up time to do the things that I love to do. So it wasn't necessarily that I was like so passionate about network marketing and I wanted that to be like my career, but I saw it as, okay, well, that will get me to the place where I want to be, to do all the things that I want to try. Like I just wanted to try everything and couldn't figure out how I was ever going to find the time to do it. But yeah, what was it? What did you want me to go into more?
I was just saying, what were some of those things that appealed to you about the network marketing business model? What, you mentioned that, maybe I could gain more time.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. Yeah. So it was seeing how it would become a residual income was like, oh, okay, that makes perfect sense. And to help, as you bring people in and then you help them, and it just seemed to be like the perfect way to um, help everybody win, not me just being like the one that makes all the money. It's like, oh, we can all help each other make money. So I mean, that's basically all it was when it came to network marketing. It was just like, yeah, of course, I want to be able to help other people make money while I make money.
Mm-hmm. And so tell me this, like, what were early on in network marketing? Now, what you guys don't know is that when I met Crystal, she was with this other company, right? And in this other company, she actually, when I met her, I was doing network marketing. She was doing network marketing. I was doing pretty, just okay. I mean, I wasn't like killing it.
Well, to me, I was like, oh my gosh, he's like making a lot of money. But
what was I made? I think I was only
like 5,000 a month, but that was a lot.
5 to 10K. I can't remember.
Yeah, in between there, and I was like, oh my gosh, we're rich. Coming from, I barely would be able to make like 1,500 a month, and that was perfect amount to cover my bills, but no extra.
See, and I laugh because it's funny to me. I think back on even when I was 20, I think we were like 23 and 24, and we were generating some pretty substantial income. And I just remember being so unsatisfied with it because I was aware, very aware of people that were doing so much better. And so I never really looked around and said, well, I'm doing pretty darn good compared to most Americans. I would just always compare to the upper echelon and like, why am I not there? Why are we not there?
Yeah.
Remember? Now tell me this, early on in network marketing, what were some of the things that in that company, I wanted everyone to know you did well. She didn't make much money, but it wasn't because she didn't try. Like I
worked hard, yes.
And she enrolled a lot of people. And that's a particular company where you can enroll a lot of people and make diddly squat, but you're making someone else a lot. You're making someone else a lot with high level, high price point enrollments, but you're not making much at all. And you didn't make much at all, and you enrolled a lot of people. And tell me, what was that like early on for you, early on in that company? What were some of the experiences you remember?
Okay. Well, I remember, first of all, seeing it as like the perfect vehicle, like I said, but then once I started to get into it, I noticed, learning from, I basically was taught to do it a certain way. I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, like learn from the successful people. I'm going to do anything they tell me to do, I will do it. And I was ready and willing to do it that way. But as I was doing it, it just felt like so inauthentic, first of all, because they were basically teaching you to be um, like there was just a certain way to do it, and you had to do it that way. And it was all about, money hype. And they encouraged you to go and buy a brand new fancy car as soon as possible, because the goal was to fake it till you make it. And they would openly tell you to do that. Like, it's okay, like just go buy a brand new, like really nice car, lease it if you have to, so that you can afford at least just a payment. And it's really going to have an impact in your success in the business if you just and to go buy expensive suits and to dress really nice and to talk a certain way. And it was like, I was doing it, but I hated how I felt in it. And also feeling like I was always having, basically they would tell you to reach out to your friends and ask them for a favor. And I hated that, like cold calling your friends, like, hey, guess what? I got this awesome opportunity. I want to tell you about it. And the way they taught me how to do it just felt really yucky to me. But I just thought, okay, this is the only way to make money, so I guess I better do it that way. But I never really enjoyed it. But then I met you, and it was like, I think I was only in it for like 5 months, and met you, and you were in Isagenix for 5 months too at the same time. But I had gone into debt with my company, and you were actually doing well. And the reason why I had gone into debt is because they would really tell you how important it is to be at all the events, which was like one every month or two, and you'd have to fly across the country. And I couldn't afford that. I'd have to buy my own plane ticket and then get a hotel room and then food and then the fancy, try to buy clothes that I could afford so that I looked the part. And it just felt so stressful.
What do you mean by look the part? What does that mean?
Like where, like, it actually, the majority of the company were men. And so they were all wearing suits, really expensive suits. And so I just, did my best to find like a suit for me and look, like a businesswoman. And so that was kind of what I stepped into, but it just never really felt good to me. But I at that time, I had the belief that this is what I got to do to be successful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And tell me this, like we met, and obviously you learned about Isagenix, and kind of compare at that time back in 2004 the difference. What was it that made you say, because guys, when I met Crystal, what a lot of you don't know is that she was locked in. I mean, this other company, she was locked in. She was heavy in. She would die for that company.
I remember thinking, like, when we became serious in our relationship, I was like, well, we can both, you can work Isagenix and I'll work this one. And you're like, I don't think that's going to work.
Well, just contrast, because a lot of people don't have that experience. What were some of the differences you noticed in terms of, the opportunity or the culture? What you remember?
Well, so when I first started going to, I went to an Isagenix Celebration with you, like early into our relationship. And I just remember being like, whoa, this is way different than the other events that I've gone to. And it was more down to earth, more results around the product. Like there was actually not really even a product in the other business. It was more just like a pyramid. Like you get people in, they pay a certain amount, and then you get paid. There was really not really a product. They just used something to pretend like it was the product. But I loved that Isagenix was such a different thing. I'm like, oh, they actually have a product that is helping people. Mm-hmm. So that was really cool for me to see that. And then we did a 9-day at the time together, my first time, and I had really good results. I remember that was exciting for me because I had struggled so much with my weight. Well, not in a bad way, but just having high expectations of what my body should be. And so for me to lose 25 pounds and go from a size 10 to a 5, I was like, whoa, this is exciting. Like I hadn't been that weight since I think junior high. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I didn't know that I could be this size anymore. So that was my first initial results with Isagenix, and it was exciting, and I loved that the vibe at the celebration, and John Anderson was a big part of it then, and it was just such a cool feeling, and it was all about results, and so many people's, were seeing, their lives were being changed by the whole technology of it.
And then I remember because you got involved and you were like, I want to have my own income. It was important to you. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember you got involved and you started sharing your results with people you knew, and you got your business up to 14 cycles in a week, which is actually really good. Those of you that know what that means, it's actually phenomenal that she did that all by herself and got that going. And then kind of just like connect with what happened at that point. I almost don't even remember. I just remember, what I do remember is we had another kid. We had two then, and I just remember we started to have more distinct roles.
Yeah, that's kind of, you're right. But initially when we first started building Isagenix, well, when we first got married, and then I felt like, okay, I'm just kind of jumping into something that you've already started building. I think that was a hard transition for me, because I went from feeling like I was building my own business and I had these goals that I was going to be able to make my own income. And then Sean was already doing well. And it was hard for me to just come in and like, I guess, just support what you were already creating and feel like I was not really I don't know. For me, I felt like it was hard for me to take any ownership of it, because it felt like that was his business that he had already built, and he knew all the people, and it's just, for me, I had a hard time stepping into that. But so I was like, oh, how about I just build my own position underneath us, and that way I can get this sense of like empowerment, I guess, as a woman, like I can build it, I can make money too. And so that was my goal, and it was fun, and I was excited about getting the cycles up to where they were, and to make my own money in that way, and to see what I could build on my own. But then we had our second baby, and that's when life starts to get busy with with kids. And so I was like, all right, so I kind of just handed it over to Sean, and I would help a little bit here and there, but still at the same time I wasn't I think I kind of started to feel somewhat the same as, maybe I was using the same approach that I learned from my first network marketing, which was, contact all your friends, and you got to talk to everybody. And I felt like I always had this agenda in my relationships. I would make friends, and I'd be like, oh, I got to tell them about Isagenix. And it really was like at the top of my mind. And I didn't like having that kind of vibe in my friendships and relationships. So I just kind of lost my passion around, I guess, even network marketing and in Isagenix. And for many years, I kept trying to get back into it, because I wanted to contribute and help, but I just couldn't get myself to get excited and passionate about it again. So I kind of went on to a little detour and started, I started up the Wannabe Balance blog, and which eventually turned into a YouTube channel, and then a podcast, and then a book. And so that was like my little thing that I was creating, but I also at the same time never came anywhere near what Sean was able to create financially in Isagenix. And so I guess I always felt like I still wasn't contributing, because it was requiring a lot of my time, but I would never be able to get it to where Isagenix could get it to.
I mean, by normal standards, the success that we've had in network marketing is really, it's unbelievable. So for you to compare the success that you had to that is just not fair. You know what I mean? With that in mind, you actually did generate some significant success by average standards in what you were doing. But I'd like to ask you, like, everybody wants to be a blogger. Everybody wants to be an Instagram famous. Everybody wants to be, everything. And I think you have unique perspective, because you kind of been there and done that. And what would you say your takeaways from all of that were?
Okay, sorry about the squeaking. We need to
oil
this thing. And we have two microphones, but it's not working today, so we're sharing. So yeah, let me give you a little behind the scenes of what it's like to try to be an Instagram influencer, because I tried. And I did all the things. I learned how to build a following on social media, and I did all the steps. I take all these classes and research it like crazy. Okay, there's like, you got to figure out, there are certain strategies to build an online presence. And so I was really focused on making that work, and being a successful Instagrammer, because that's what it became for a while. Was Instagram was the main thing. And I dove into that, and played that role for a while, which was basically just posting perfect pictures all the time and promoting other people's companies and products all the time and getting paid for it. And so that was exciting, I guess, for a little while, because I was like, oh my gosh, people are paying me to post about their products. But then it also, led me down this feeling of feeling inauthentic again. Like, okay, I'm just like posting about this toothpaste, or I'm posting about this random product just because I'm getting paid for it. And I didn't like that feeling. So I did that for a couple of years, and then fizzled out of that, because I think you kind of experiment with different things, but you realize, no, that's not me either. I want to be more open and authentic. And I didn't, when I learned about how to do Instagram, it was like, they always would teach, like, you have to have like a color cohesive, like, feed, like your pictures all have to match, and it has to be the same, like, lighting and the way you edit the pictures, and all has to look beautiful. And so I was doing that, but I hated that, because that's not me to just pose like perfect and matching my kids in all of our outfits, and having like the perfectly clean house and everything looks perfect. And I would also, at the same time, I was still trying to be authentic and be like, these pictures are just, they're not real life. I'm just, I guess, playing the game, doing what I was taught I should do. But just so this is not like real life. It's just my pretty pictures. I'm choosing to post these. So yeah, I didn't like that. But I think, should I dive into like the turning point where things started to really shift for me?
Around what?
Like the religion, and like that kind of shifted my whole perspective.
Yeah, maybe I remember this unique thing. Keep in mind, Crystal got her Instagram up way up there, and just like crazy amount of followers. She was, as you said, playing the game, which I think is a nice way to put it. There's ways to get there, right? If that's what your agenda is, there's ways to get there.
Yeah.
And you played the game. I wanted to focus in on, why did that leave you unfulfilled? Even though you kind of accomplished what you set out to do, why did that leave you unfulfilled? I think you kind of covered that already, because you felt disingenuous. You didn't feel authentic. But here's what's interesting. Most people, when they get to that level of success with something and they've worked that hard, they'll keep with it. And I remember very distinctly, I was in the bathroom at our home in Draper, and I remember you saying, I think I want to stop being an Instagram person. And I was like, what? It's like, what are you talking about? Like, that's what you're doing. That's what you've been doing. And I remember you just said, yep, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that anymore. And I just remember thinking, like, do you really get to just, I guess she gets to just choose that. Like, it was just a weird feeling for me. For me personally, I remember thinking, like, nobody just decides not to do that like that. Like, that's not normal. You worked really hard on that. You made a lot of money. And then, by average standards, you made a lot of money, I think. And it just felt like, wait, like you just get to stop. And that's pretty much what you did. Which I thought was interesting. So yeah, you can go into that, but that I just remember that pivotal moment in the bathroom when it's kind of like, I don't have to do this anymore. And I was like, it was weird, because I actually felt like, yeah, you do. You chose it.
Yeah.
You have to do it. But you're like, no, don't have to.
Yeah, it just like, I got to this point where it was like this huge turning point for me. And I don't want to be like, I don't want to talk in a way where this is really controversial. I'm not going to, the way I'm expressing this is really just how my mindset shifted. So I support all beliefs and all that. So it's not about like who's right and what's the truth and all that kind of stuff. It's more of like suddenly I got to a place in my life where I started just questioning more of what I was doing, what I was creating, what I believed, where I wanted to go. And it kind of started, I just started, it felt like I was peeling back layers of an onion, you know. So first I decided I don't really like this social media influencer stuff. And then I was like, I don't know if I really like my my beliefs as far as like what I was taught growing up. And certain things just didn't align with me. And I think I just started to realize that I had the choice. You know, like you said, you're like, no, people don't just like stop doing things. Like you kind of have to like do them. You choose something and you do it and you commit to it. But I really allowed myself to open the door to all the possibilities. Like, wait, what if I stopped believing in my religious beliefs? Or what if I stopped doing things the way I've always done? How about try something new? So that's when I started questioning everything, and then I finally allowed myself to be. I think one of the first books I read at that time was really helpful for me. It was called The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, and even just the title of that book, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so tethered. Like my soul just feels tethered, and why? Why do I feel that way? Brings me back of how cool this experience was to just finally realize that I had the choice to choose the life I wanted, choose the beliefs I wanted. I didn't realize I had that choice. I thought like my beliefs that I was taught growing up was the only way to live my life. And to finally realize that I had felt so tethered, and to realize what was holding me bound, and to make that choice to choose differently, it really impacted so many other areas of my life. And I think it really kind of plays a role in how erShred came to be as well, because we started just opening up our minds to things that are completely different, you know. Like with erShred is really like I never going from vegan diet to eating all this meat was just like, wait, what? Like I never would have thought I would be open to doing something like completely opposite of what I was doing before. And now we are just kind of looking at life in that way. Like, what if we tried doing it the opposite way? You know, what if we tried that? You know, it's just kind of more about experimenting in new ways that we were never open to before. And what was the other thing that I said about it was like the erShred, and then just I guess, oh yeah, the business, like the way we're doing network marketing now is so different. Like Sean and I have been having a lot of conversations about how we feel like, you know, network marketing can still be a very beautiful thing, even though it has such a bad reputation to many. But we have the ability to do it differently, just because it has, you know, we've been taught that you build it this way. Like there's certain ways that you build your business. What if we just did it completely different than anything that we've ever seen before? What if we stopped putting people up on pedestals and started listening to ourselves more, and stopped saying, you know, looking at all these like successful people as having all the answers, or, you know, gurus and doctors. And I mean, I love doctors. I'm just saying, like, getting to a place where we are starting to trust ourselves. And that's what we talk a lot about when it comes to the empowerment aspect of the erShred. It's more than just the results. It's like, oh, what if we just start trying to do things differently? What if we stopped putting all these people up on pedestals, even ourselves? That's one thing I didn't love about the whole vibe around social media influencing, was that I was being put on a pedestal, and I hated the feeling of I'm an influencer. Like I even hate the name, you know, like social media influencer. And even that name makes me feel like, oh, you're so, you know, people who are influencers are better than everybody else on social media. We all look to the influencers. And I didn't like that. I didn't like putting people up on pedestals. I didn't like me being on a pedestal, I wanted to be more of a community. And same with the business. We did, we put people up on pedestals, people who are millionaires in the company, or, CEOs. And we just look at them like, oh, they have all the answers. But what if they don't? What if we listen to ourselves more and tried something completely new, something different than anything we've ever done before? And that's what I love so much about the way we're deciding to do network marketing is different than anything we've ever been taught, being in this industry for all these years. And we've read all the network marketing books, we've done all the things that we were taught. And we're like, there's got to be a different way. There's got to be a way that feels more authentic and genuine. And now we are literally like building a business without even thinking about the money. Like, I think the other day I asked you, like, so have our cycles gone up? And you're like, I don't know, I haven't even looked. And I was just curious to know. And it's just not even a thought, it's just so much. We're enjoying this so much that we're not even thinking at all about what is this creating financially. We're just loving the results. We're loving the friendships that we're making, the connections that we're making. We love getting on and doing live videos and sharing, creating content, and I don't know, and supporting all of you guys. It just feels so good to be in this space where we can stop putting people up on pedestals. And even like Sean and I were just saying, like, we don't want to be on the pedestal around erShred. We want you guys all to be with us, rising with us. We're all together. We are all erShred, not just me and Sean, so it feels much better for me, like, and for my soul. I just feel like, now I'm figuring it out. I'm figuring out how to do things in my own authentic way, and figuring out what it feels like to listen to myself, because I'm 40, almost 40 years old, and I've never learned how to listen to myself. And it's a process to figure that out, because I've all these voices in my head, like, oh, well, this person said I got to do it this way. This person says that this is the way to live your life. And so you've got all these people who have influenced you over your life, and it's hard to sift through and figure out, well, wait, what's mine? What am I saying? Because there's so many in your head. So we're learning how to like strip it all down and get to a place where we can actually hear what our intuition, our higher self, our inner voice is telling us, so that we can live in more joy and enjoy. I never really understood what it meant to enjoy the journey, because we're always like, no, we got to reach this goal. We got to once we're here, once we make it this big in this company, or once we become millionaires, or, all these things that we're waiting till once we get there, then we'll be happy. But we are figuring out how to like finally be just so happy and content, and so in the present moment, that we're not thinking, okay, well, what are we going to create? What is our goal? What are we trying to create 10 years from now? We're just loving every minute of it.
That was great. Thank you so much. That was awesome. I can't add anything to that. It's just fantastic. Like, everything you just said, what that does for me. Makes my heart sing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, makes my heart sing. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. We're going to close with this. If you could say, someone said, Crystal, tell me the number one thing you love the most about the erShred. What would that be for you?
Okay, well, there's a lot. So I was going to say that's easy, but like, wait, which one is the most? I think what I love the most is that it does require some effort on our part. It's not this like, oh, this magic pill, or you just drink a magic potion and yay, you're healthier. I love that this requires some effort on our part. And we talk about how you really get to a point where you no longer need that discipline and willpower. But in the beginning, it does require that. But isn't that awesome that it requires that kind of willpower? Like when you think about the things that you do in your life, like running a marathon, doing those hard things that, not everybody's willing to do, but you're like, you want to prove to yourself that you can do hard things. And I love that is kind of our culture. It's not a quick fix. It's not a magic pill or potion. And it takes some effort on our part. And the empowerment that we are creating all of us together collectively, the empowerment that we're creating around what we put in our bodies, it spills over into all areas of our life. Like I mentioned, like now I'm just seeing things so differently, and I'm more open to, experimenting in different ways that I've never even considered before. And I love that it really does open your mind to new ways of living.
That's a good one. That was a good one. Wow. That was clever. I don't have anything to add to that either. That's phenomenal. You're doing, you just got, it's almost like, wow. I couldn't even come up with that stuff. That's really good. Crystal, my voice just cracked. Crystal, just want to brag on you a little bit. A lot of people don't know this. Crystal, my wife, I bet you she reads more books than anyone you know. I'm serious. I bet you she has studied more personal development than anyone you know. Like crazy amounts. I'm not talking about she sets aside a little time now and then to make sure she gets her reading in. She is just divulging information all the time. It's very unique. It's very inspiring on my end to see someone that is that devoted to bettering themselves. Crystal, I just think you're amazing that way. Like I've always, I learn in different ways than you for sure, but I look up to you that way, that you're that dedicated to growth. It's really amazing. And for what it's worth, I want to let everyone know that Crystal, she got certified. She's a life coach, and she went down that road. She already had a whole bunch of clients, and she was finding so much fulfillment in that. And then she saw how busy I've been with erShred, and she's been trying to keep tabs on what a lot of people have been doing with erShred, because it really is blowing up like more than we could have ever imagined. And she just decided, hey, I'm going to put the life coaching on hold for the time being. And I really want to support this while this is in its infancy. And I just wanted to say thank you for that, because you don't have to do that. And that was your idea. That wasn't mine.
Well, I just realized, I think it just kind of took me some time to realize how they can just be so perfectly integrated. And so I can take my skills around life coaching and apply it here in the group. And I want to do it as, as a service, because I'm so passionate about this community anyway. So I'm, offering what I can for all of you guys, and because it's something that I am very passionate about. So I'm taking the two things I'm most passionate about, well, three, because I got Sean too. So I'm working with my passion. He's my passion. And then we have erShred and personal development. It's like, oh, it's all perfect.
Yeah.
Perfectly combined, and I love it all. And so I just think we're finally into this place where we figured out how to, or me, I think Sean's always like wanted me to be more involved in Isagenix, but I had a hard time taking ownership around the business, because I'm like, oh, he built it, he was the one that started it, and it's always been him. So this is our first time where we've actually been this much in alignment around what we're creating. I would always have my thing that I was creating, and he would be more involved in Isagenix, and this is the first time we actually are co-creating.
One of the things you didn't talk about was just how you didn't want to be perceived as that hawkster. You didn't want to be that. I remember that. Like, you're right. I would be like, hey, I come do this Isagenix with me. And I just remember you'd be like, well, if I can find a way to do it where I don't have to be the product hawkster, the huckster, what do you call it?
Yeah.
The person that's constantly blah, 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 spewing on people.
Yeah.
Have you tried this? Buy this, buy this, buy this, right?
Yeah.
And then it's the next shiny object and the next shiny object. And I remember thinking, like, I can't argue with that, because I don't really like being it either. It's, it's kind of what did I sign up for this, right?
Yeah.
Did I sign up for this? Did I sign up to be hawking products all the time?
Yeah.
Like, not my idea of, what I really want to be.
Yeah. And I think what I took from that was like that I just wasn't cut out to be a network marketer, because, based on all the books and the way we've been taught that like, well, you just have to overcome your fear and you have to, you know, be willing to call people, you have to talk to people and step out of your comfort zone. And so I just thought, well, I'm just not willing to do that. And I'm just not, I guess I would just think there was something wrong with me because I wasn't willing to, I guess, be seen as perceived as that kind of person. I didn't want that. And so I was like thinking, well, I guess I just am never going to be that successful because I just don't want to do that. But now I'm realizing that, oh, wait, maybe we don't have to be perceived as the person who's like, oh my gosh, like everybody's dreading that, like, oh, here she comes, she's going to be talking about, you know. But I think that's why I'm really so passionate about the erShred because for all the reasons I've already mentioned, but just it's more of a natural thing. It doesn't feel in any way like I'm trying to convince anyone or sell anything. It's just natural.
Natural. That's good. Natural's the way to go. I agree. Thank you so much. Guys, Crystal's amazing. I'm going to unmute the line. You did great. Like home run, hit a home run. Great. I hope you guys enjoyed all that information as much as I did. I hope it spoke to you like it speaks to me. It literally, the way that I always describe when things resonate with me is I actually say that makes my heart sing. I can actually feel my heart. Like I'm not a good singer, but my heart, I know when it's singing, it's literally brings joy to my heart. I don't feel it in my head. I feel it in my heart. And Crystal and I, that's one of the things that we've been learning is to feel, and then to trust the feeling. And you've gotten so amazing at that. I'm so impressed by you.
It's taken me 40 years. I'm learning.
You're getting so good at that. I'm going to unmute the lines, let everybody love on Crystal. We'll say goodnight. Hold on. Oh, just unmute your lines if you want to tell Crystal you love her, and we'll sign off here, guys.
Great job,
Thank
Crystal.
you so much, Crystal.
Awesome.
Love you, Crystal.
Love you, Mama.
Crystal. Everybody.
Love you, baby girl.
Awesome job.
Yay, Crystal.
Yay.
Thank you guys.
If it wasn't for you, Crystal, I wouldn't have my website. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you guys very much.
Mwah.
We love you guys back. Thank you so much. Let me, I'll close this out. Hold on one second.
Great job, Crystal.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Night, everyone. Great job, guys.
Good night, Bob. Thank you,
Awesome.
Bob.